To all of my patrons, and particularly the most generous among you listed here, thank you for pledging to promote stronger Fate Grand Order content.
What is a woman doing in my holy grail? Japan! And in typical Fate fashion, the reasons for this phenomenon are exceptionally convoluted. This is Irisviel von Einzbern, the wife of Kiritsugu Emiya and mother to Irisviel von Einzbern, who also happens to be a homunculus that bonded with the Grail and thus represents the purity of its will, rather than the cesspool of the world's sin which the Fuyuki Grail would also become. She is gentle and compassionate among everything she encounters, curious toward all that which she comes into contact with. You could call it the ideal attitude associated with the White Mage. Media Lily, the other White Mage in the game, is much the same, simply replacing the power of the Grail with the greatest power in the universe. Unlimited pancakes! Yeah, you know, just underneath the root. Unlimited pancakes. But these are the only two pancakes. I mean, white mages. Noted, too many pancakes. Couldn't we just have, I don't know, a few more? The answer is fairly straightforward. Healing is, by nature, reactive rather than proactive. And the problem is that Fate's Grand Order is generally designed around proactive playstyles. Delightworks even implemented a break system forcing masters to finish off several separate health bars so that they couldn't simply one-shot bosses anymore. However, there are plenty of skills masters cherish as necessities for any servant which are at least somewhat reactive, namely skills which grant evasion or invincibility. But these skills are better than any healing. They outright prevent damage altogether, and they can be used more tactically than a simple heal, as a well-timed evade or invincibility application can protect a servant from an oncoming enemy noble phantasm. Whereas a heal is just a band-aid crafted with the hope that your servant doesn't just die next turn from E-rank luck. At least the revive from a guts skill can possibly detract an enemy from striking that servant again immediately after they've been knocked down the first time that turn. And many servants already wield a skill which grants either evasion, invincibility, guts, even their own heal, sometimes targetable. So why would we need a servant simply dedicated to the sole function of only healing? Well, the positives in this sort of servant are embedded in that very question. If all a servant is truly equipped for is to heal, then they should be really fucking good at it. Sure, they probably won't win you any Holy Grail Wars unless you're the smartest, wisest master standing, but a potent white mage on support toward a DPS, or in FGO's case, any high damage dealing servant, can keep them vomiting out crits basically forever. Of course, the more babysitting required to keep them around, then the more they become an obstruction themselves. Luckily, Fate Grand Order's two leading healers have means of protecting themselves. Sort of. One more so than the other. Irisviel has the more obvious means with a one-turn invincibility skill, combined with it granting her an NP gain increase for 3 turns, quickly tumbling her into releasing her Noble Phantasm, which provides the entire party Guts status to keep them going for more turns until the resulting skill cooldown is complete, and then the cycle of turtling theoretically begins anew. This doesn't work for Berserkers too well, since their lives are usually always on a definite ticking clock running faster than any skill cooldown, and this still might take a bit to get moving in the first place depending on your chosen craft essence. But paired with any other class, and this tactic should perform quite effectively. Media Lily, on the other hand, is a lot more fast and loose. With Rapid Words of Divine, she can basically cast her Noble Phantasm, a big fat heal with complete debuff removal and added debuff resist, whenever she wants. It satisfies the trigger-happy, time-budgeting masters among us, I'm sure, and is much better suited for Berserker-focused parties, but if the enemy gangs up on her, she'll be struggling, so a second protective servant alongside her is recommended in tougher battles. And this basically outlines why there aren't more of them. The major bases are now all covered. This might also explain why they're locked away from the player base, whether it be through event-only circumstances or story lock, respectively. They're kinda just trophies. They're extremely niche, not at all necessary, and, in my honest opinion, generally counterintuitive to how FGO is designed, particularly when other servants can perform similar basic functions while simultaneously and consistently buffing stronger fighters, or while simply being stronger fighters too. It's as I said before, FGO is a proactive game requiring lots of preemptive setup, whether it be before the battle even begins or during any given turn. Dedicated healers are not particularly good at this, and are only useful when shit is hitting the fan. which is what you're typically planning on not allowing to happen, unless they can cast buffs too. This is why I personally believe Irie to be superior, as she has far greater potential by playing the role of a proactive setup support with her buffs. But I will admit, she isn't nearly as general as the reset cure-all Media Lily is supposed to be. I guess that makes sense from a character standpoint. For example, think of Media as your sweet, pure little girlfriend.
#do not touch.
Who will be by your side to mend your wounds when you're feeling bad. Irisviel, however, is best mom, who will go out of her way to make certain all bad things will never ever ever come to pass her blessed baby. Too bad she wasn't present to cast guts on her actual baby.
I am your equal. What a silly notion. It's not about size, it's the motion in my potion. I don't ask much, just someone to say, "Hey, white mage, good job today."